Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Goa Ahead. And the matter that we are discussing this week is Goa's tourism. Although the season has ended technically, industry veterans believe that Goa's tourism is now 365 days. I am going to be joined by two industry veterans today. First, I have with me in the studio President of Travel and Tourism Association of Goa, Nilesh Shah. Nilesh, welcome. Let's start with the basic question. How has been the numbers post-pandemic? I'm using the word post-pandemic out of lot of optimism. However, what are the numbers telling us during pandemic, pre-pandemic, and post-pandemic?
Frankly, if you actually analyze, Goa was only state which was technically first one to open after initial COVID lockdowns. And there was lot of rush towards Goa in different segments. And there was a concept of workations, what we are talking about, working from home. And lot of people they made Goa as a home, so they rented out the apartments in hotels and everything. So in turn, the rush started during COVID first wave itself. Again, when second wave came, it went down. Again, with the second wave subsides, people were so fed up, they wanted to move out. And thanks to government of Goa also, they followed the center guidelines, and whatever the SOPs, they stuck to that, and there were no change in the SOPs frequently, which other states did it. And there was confusion in other states, if you actually analyze, which helped in Goa making a tourist hotspot for full Indians.
And the sector making a faster recovery.
And secondly, what had happened, everything throughout world, everything was closed. No Indians were able to move out. And if you see the figures, there's almost 8 to 10 crores people go abroad. Anywhere between 6 to 8 crores go abroad every year. So now that traffic also was attracted to Goa because type of infrastructure what Goa has, they can actually offer the world-class hotels, world-class chains are in Goa. So technically the star hotels, 4-star category, they have done excellent business. Yes, the smaller segments have suffered quite a lot, and it will take a while before they get recovery done because they were accustomed to one particular type of clientele which was not coming in. So I think they were both expect, but overall.
But what about the numbers in terms of occupancy? If you compare the present state with the pre-pandemic levels, what's the comparison?
In fact, after presently the occupancies have been fantastic, especially for the star hotels. I'm getting the report besides the brands, other star hotels which are in 5-star, 4-star category, they have done their best businesses since the inception of hotels in Goa. They have done occupancy of 75-80% in month of April, May, which they have been not doing earlier. So it has been quite encouraging. Especially again, if you look into city hotels, there are no rooms available which you can check it up. In the weekends, they were absolutely sold out, and we literally had to hunt for the rooms. So that segment is also done well thanks to casinos to certain extent. Lot of MICE movements have started coming in, which has helped. After weddings, this MICE movement has picked up such a big way that some or other company wants to do some event in Goa because the infrastructure is readily available, and if they have a different category of people who want to put in 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, all segments of they could distribute among the people, and people who used to do the tours abroad for the MICE movement, for them also Goa was a natural choice. So overall, I think Goa has done quite well post-pandemic. And I'm very optimistic, and I think we are in very good times in here.
What about aviation? How are the numbers? Because we could not travel anywhere abroad. Now we can. The flights were very limited when it comes to the airport. Till I think 6 to 7 months back. What has changed after that?
We'll divide into two parts. One is the domestic flights in aviation and international flights. Now, if you look into the domestic flights, after the pandemic started, it went to zero, and gradually it went up. And already we have crossed post-COVID numbers. We almost have 85-90 flights a day operating into Goa. So we have a number of seats which is offering was almost 12,000 plus on daily basis, and average occupancy is anywhere between 85 to 90%. This is even after because of ATF price, full price going up, overall pricing have gone up very high. If you see Goa, Mumbai,
And this is also after the international skies opening up.
that's right, that's right. So even that, fortunately for Goa, that trend remained. People wanted to come to Goa. Reason being, abroad the things were not that clear, and secondly, there were a lot of visa issues, and people were not that confident of that if, because we like it or we don't like it, COVID is not at over. So they were worried about that also. So that attractions to Goa will remain. As far as international flight is concerned, there were a lot of restrictions at the other part. So gradually they have started opening up. Now I will give you one example of Phuket, means Thailand.
Yeah.
So Thailand initially what they said, they opened up, but they said that one night compulsory quarantine, and which they have to buy from the government, and those costing were so high. So there was no clarity, and there were no numbers picking up. Somewhere in April, they removed all the restrictions, and now if you see of any third person who is going abroad, he says that I am going to Thailand because the things have opened up. Similarly, Dubai has opened up big way. They have removed the restriction. The frequency is quite high. From Goa, we have Air India flights thrice a week. Of course, it caters to our Goan friends who are working abroad, or with who have a Portuguese passport there who wants to come back. Addition to that, it also, if you see, lot of foreign tourists coming in, so they are using those flights. We have a Qatar Airways which has already done the frequency, a daily flight from Goa, which also brings in the tourists from throughout all part of world. And Oman Air also have done from London specifically, they come, Paris, other places. They have a 3 times a week, they will increase the frequency. MOPA coming in, you will see more number of flights coming in. Of course, I missed out on Air Arabia, which has also a 5 days week of flight, which brings in lot of tourists. But unfortunately, we don't have tourists coming from Russia and Kyiv side, where in those sectors they used to use that because of the war factor.
Okay, that was my next question. How has been the impact of war? Because we had a lot of charters from Russia, we had a lot of charters from the neighboring countries also. So, what has been the quantum of that impact, if you could tell me?
If you actually see, Goa was only state in India which opened up for foreign tourists. Rest all flights were bubble flights. So Goa was only flights with through charters tourists could come into Goa, and it was a lot of push from Goa, and the central government understood the economy of Goa, and they allowed tourists coming into Goa. Unfortunately, it just started month of December. So we started getting the tourists from CSI countries, and gradually Russians also started. Now, unfortunately, the frequency was supposed to be initially 1 week, 1 flight a week with 500 plus seat, and then gradually increased to maybe 3 or 4 flights a week. But unfortunately, war started, and that came to standstill. Secondly, UK. When the charters were supposed to start, the second wave came in, or third wave came in, and that standstill, because the requirement of the government was on certain countries was for quarantine, and if tourists coming in, and if they have to wait for 14 days into quarantine, that holiday concept itself did not work. So they also pulled out after a lot of thought, and they tried quite a lot. But coming season, the UK market is looking, they are very excited to come into Goa. Of course, we have certain challenges which we have to resolve, especially on the e-visa front. But I think because of this war, definitely we got effect, and especially with this, if you see the beach activities, shacks, smaller hotels which depend on that, they were literally a big sufferer in because of this impact of the war.
Because of the war. Next question. Connected to the war and the traffic, if you take the impact, how much it is on the starred hotels and how much it is on the lower end hotels?
As I told you, the star hotels have been doing extremely well, because all domestic tourists, people who were supposed to go abroad or otherwise, lot of weddings has happened in Goa because of smaller weddings. Lot of MICE movements have come to Goa. So star hotels have done extremely well. It is the smaller hotels with maybe 10 rooms, 20 rooms, 25 rooms, which were in the budget category, which were catering specifically to this foreign budget tourists, has been affected quite big. and there was lot of, it's not that they could not have a facility for them, but they never thought about domestic market. So the change in mindset was required, and gradually we see after some time, they also started attracting domestic tourists. Now the challenge is they have to upgrade with the looking into the facilities which today's tourist is looking out for. But I think it's evolving process. It will take a while, but I think ways things are panning it out, way we are seeing the influx of tourists into Goa, I think everybody will have a good time.
On that influx of tourists, I think one important question is about the tourist behavior in the state. And there has been lot of talk, lot of chatter about that across the state. The way tourists behave when they come to Goa, and I'm not only talking about the roadside tourists, I'm also talking about some really high-end tourists and the way they behave once they enter the state. As the president of TTAG, what would you like to tell them?
See, basically there are two aspects to it. One is there are genuine complaints which they face, which we have been hearing in the media for last few days. So we need to address. It is not that cannot solve those challenges. In fact, today itself, Goa government has been quite proactive, and they have come out with this Goa Vigil app, Goa Vigil Beach app, wherein they will have a real-time data available about the litters and other things happening in and around beach. So that is one aspect which we have to look into it. And one thing we have to understand, Goa has become to such a level because of our friendliness towards the tourist, because of our hospitality. So I think we may be missing out on that, and think we need to correct. We have come out with Goa Tourist Police. We need to activate that in a real sense, in sense that it has to be a friendly police. Secondly, as far as the behavioral is concerned, I think
the tourist
behavior is concerned, I think they also need to understand that it's not free for all in Goa. And I think when they enter, do's and don'ts, signages, a little bit education at each level is required.
A little bit civil behavior.
And basically it is possible. It's not that it's not possible, but what happens is sometimes there are certain aspects which need to be corrected, because what happens is if one service is bad, they feel that at all level they will have to do on the behavior similar way to overcome, especially on the transport front.
One very crucial aspect is about the regulated and unregulated part of the industry, and we spoke about it last time, and you said that the number of unregulated hotels or boardings or lodgings is massively increasing. What is the situation today post-pandemic? Because many people have decided not to continue with the business. Many establishments have been shut down. Post-pandemic, if you look at the ratio from the economy point of view, from the taxation point of view, what is the percentage of the regulated vis-a-vis the unregulated?
I think for this, the statistics, we can just look into it. Like before pandemic, we had around 3,500 plus hotel registered with the department. And today we have, I think we have crossed more than 4,300, 400 should be the figure, if I am not mistaken. So now these hotels which have registered, people, they all are small villas or small hotels or flats which were operating, giving it to on the rentals for the tourists. Now with the government making it compulsory for all these online players, all OTs, that is online tour operators, to register, to only sell the registered hotels which are registered with tourism, they have come in the forefront and the net of the tourism sector. Many of these small guys, people who were not getting businesses or something, they must have moved out for sure. But main thing is government making it mandatory and making procedures simple. It's not that always that people want to avoid getting registration done or fall into the government whatever rules and regulations. It is sometimes that the process is so incumbent that they don't want to do it. But with the ease of doing business, where they're talking about online registration, and of course there are a lot of teething problems, but I think in days to come we'll see more and more people coming in mainstream, which is a welcome step, which will help a level playing field for all segment of the people in the industry.
This final question, the forecast.
Forecast as far as the domestic tourist is concerned, I feel will remain a hotspot. Because if you, I have been touring to other parts of India after opening up. What I'm been saying is that, especially I'm talking specifically as a tourist destination, the type of hotel infrastructure which we have, type of brands which we have, type of infrastructure we have, the offering which we have to the overall tourists, right from budget category to the 5-star deluxe category. We have everything for tourists in Goa. So tourists will remain, domestic tourist, Goa will remain the #1 destination for domestic tourists is concerned. International tourists, there is lot of what you call this thing, not restrictions, lot of positivity towards Goa from foreign tourists is also concerned, but we need to channelize that. We have to make their visa, it's like Goa, through help of Goa government, center has given 5 lakh visa free. So if they continue with that policy, they are giving charter lending 1 lakh incentive. Even in last budget, they have continued that up to 500 flights can get that incentive. If they continue with this policy, I think we can have a good foreign tourist. Of course, the key will be the end of Russia-Ukraine war, because we get almost 35 to 40% tourists from that segment.
Yeah.
Plus, we have to pitch in the tourists which are no more coming to Goa, which were coming earlier, like from Germany, Poland, Finland. So we have to do our homework and work on them, getting them back, attracting to Goa. But I think we are living in very exciting times, and Goa is here for good.
In spite of war and that 35% dip, the sector has been kept afloat by the domestic tourist.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I am now joined by another industry veteran. I have with me in the studio Senior Vice President of Taj Properties in Goa, Vincent Ramos. Vincent, welcome to the studio. The question is, technically we say that by 31st May, the season ends. We see the shacks on beaches getting dismantled, resorts and hotels going into a renovation mode. Has the season really ended, or off late? We'll talk about the pandemic, but in non-pandemic years also, or before pandemic also. Do you think this distinction exists anymore, that the season has ended and the season restarts after monsoons?
Thank you, Pramod, and thank you for having me on this show. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I want to say that the season has just begun. I think that is what the beauty of life is. As Goa, we have come a long way. In the year 89-90, I used to work for Leela Group of Hotels. And when it came to 31st of May, we used to actually lock down the hotel, and we would have a nice party, and we will tell everybody, see you on 1st of September. Because that was how it was. Probably there was only one flight that came into India. But today you have more than 100 flights that come into India. Goa is a hot spot. Goa has everything to offer. Goa is the place in India. I think we are blessed, and the most beautiful part of Goa, is still not discovered, is yet to be discovered, and that's the monsoon.
I like your optimism. But when we talk about hard numbers, that the season has just begun, it all comes down to finally occupancy. What about the numbers as far as monsoons are concerned? When you say that the season has not ended, or it is typically 365 days tourism now, how is the occupancy in monsoons now?
The occupancy is good. We are seeing some very good occupancies for the month of June and July. June is always good because in Delhi it's very hot. Delhi school has holidays. Their normal schools begin, unlike Goa, which begins in June, their schools begin in 1st of July. So you'll literally or probably have the whole of Delhi come down here, because for them it's rain. That is again, to see the greenery, Goa in the rains, the paddy fields. I think that is what they look forward to. Now Goa has become a culinary hub. Today people decide to go to a restaurant, say Titli's, or to Mom's Kitchen, or to Black Sheep Bistro. They will decide where to go on a Monday evening or Tuesday morning, whatever, for breakfast and things like that. Then they will decide which hotel to stay. So people are looking forward to the food and beverage part of Goa. It's become a culinary hub, and I think we have done very well on that front. And the food can make and break anything. It can make or break an organization, a hotel, a state. If you get your Food and Beverage Act right, like our home, if you're your food is good, or you go to a hotel, if the food is good, you can have a great hotel, but food is the most important factor, and we have it with us.
Let me come to the most crucial aspect now, and that is about the pandemic. During pandemic, even after the skies opened, most of India traveled to Goa. Most of the people who wanted to go on a holiday visited here. We have seen the rush during New Year's Eve and during other festivals also and other occasions also. Is there a product fatigue now? Now that the skies are completely opening up, is there a product fatigue when it comes to the domestic tourists? We'll come to the international tourists later, but when it comes to domestic tourists, अरे गोवा जाके आए हैं पिछले 2 साल में 3 बार चले गए, अब क्या जाना? Do you think that feeling is there?
I thought there would be a product fatigue, and I told my team also, all my general managers, let's be ready for it. But I am surprised, and it's just the opposite. People are still flocking to Goa. People are still looking forward to come for the third and the fourth time. We were prepared for a product fatigue, but that's not happening. And I see very good occupancies. When I say occupancies, it's all segments. You talk about the wedding segment, you see the conference segment. You look at the free individual tourists, everyone. And I think, the COVID was a blessing, and every time something happened in a country, it has always been a blessing. You look at even what happened at the Twin Towers when there was this thing, we thought that now the tourism is over. In fact, people have started discovering India. The Prime Minister came up with this thing about Dekho Apna Desh, and the IHCL, the Taj Hotel supported it. Dekho Apna Desh. There's so much to see in our own India. So I think coming back, I don't think so. There's a product fatigue that is happening anywhere in India, and especially in Goa, because people love Goa. When you land in Goa, the air is different. People feel relaxed. There's something in the air that makes you feel very, very comfortable, and you want to be part of it and enjoy it. And that's the beauty of Goa.
But what's the biggest difference pre-pandemic? I don't want to talk much about during pandemic because I think all of us have gone through a lot, and post-pandemic. I hope, and I'm sharing your optimism, Vincent, when I say post-pandemic, although we are talking about 4th wave and 5th wave and I don't know how many waves, but I would like to call this a post-pandemic season. What is the biggest difference between that pre-pandemic and post-pandemic? What are the behavioral changes or spending pattern changes that you see as a professional?
See, I think in between every wave, I am in the studio, and I've always been very, very positive, and and it has worked for me. I am saying that Goa is going to rock. And we have to understand one thing: what is the business model of USA? People spend in their own country. How will our economy, will be a success when our own people spend in a country? What was happening before the COVID? Everybody was going to Thailand. Everybody was going to foreign countries. The money was going outside the country. So I look at it in a different way. I look at it as a blessing. The people are spending their money in their own country, and that is going to be the success of the economy. There's no point of you go and spend money in some other country. Today you can go to Switzerland, but people have discovered Kashmir today. People who didn't want to because they thought that, it's, maybe probably backward. But they were in the COVID time, they were forced to come to Goa. They were forced to go to Kashmir. They were forced to go to Shimla. People have started looking at it in a different way, and people have made it a plan that they will come year after year. And that's why I'm so positive that the tourism will flourish in Goa. It was, the COVID was a blessing in disguise for us Goans. I would like to go on record and say this: last year, we did 160 crores profit in the COVID times, So probably our turnover was 480 crores. I am talking only about Goa. So you can see that,
And if you compare that figure to pre-pandemic levels, how does it stand?
It's much higher. It's
much higher.
Much. I think it is. I would say 2x. It's almost double. And I think that is the good part of the COVID part. A lot of the people thought that we suffered. What will happen to us? But it was a blessing for not many people know that. I think the hotel industry did very well, and I think the people came to Goa, spend money in Goa, and when that spending happens, the rickshaw driver, the taxi driver, the pav wala, everybody benefits with this. The musicians, they benefit with this. Because I knew the 2-3 months that we were sitting at home, what happened and how people were panicking. Yeah. But I think that is the good part that has happened.
Now that you have touched on the actual figures, Tourism Minister, after taking charge of this government, very clearly said that our target is high-end tourism. We do not want those tourists who come to Goa, park their vehicles at the roadside and start cooking there. Do you think that's a distant dream, or it's a possibility in near future? Because I'm asking this because you're also a member of the tourism board.
When I'm saying that high-end tourism is, I'm not talking about the people who are flying in helicopters and everyone else. Yes, that tourism is important. That will happen. So, basically, what we really do not want in Goa is this roadside tourism where people are cooking on the road and things. I think that is what is really putting off everyone. Plus, they do not give any business to any. They come in free in the state. They don't stay in any hotel, so they don't spend anywhere. Then they buy some Maggie and they will cook on the roadside. That is a thing that, but that is quite, I would say, negligible, and I think it's a low-hanging fruit. We can solve that out.
I'm tempted to ask you one more question, Vincent, and that's about the taxi business. And because people across India are watching this show, how do you look at this dynamics? Because everybody who is coming to Goa, if you read the reviews online also, they have a big complaint about the taxi system that we have. I won't use the word mafia because we all are Goikars here, but the kind of system that is operational, that has been criticized heavily across India. Although Goa remains a very lucrative brand, our first interaction when any tourist lands in Goa is with a taxi driver. So they are practically the ambassadors as far as the state is concerned, the tourism ambassadors. How do you look at that issue?
So I think the taxi situation in Goa is much better than what it was, and we have to remember one thing, that they are also stakeholders in the tourism industry. They also need to earn that money. They also need to support their families. And people are spending a lot of money in Goa, and why should they not be part of Goa? And I think the last government in the last 5 years, has done tremendous improvement on this. So you have a state which is quite a friendly state. Most of the people, whilst I also from the same tourism industry, there are so many guests who have come and told me that these taxi drivers are so friendly that you don't find in other parts of the world. So I think that, and our people, the taxi drivers, if you genuinely talk to them, they are very nice people. They are very friendly people. I don't think so that this is a problem that it is coming up again and again. But I think we should just take it as part of the system, and we should live by it, because yes, I understand what you're coming from, but I think they have been quite reasonable in their own way, and the government has done a beautiful job. They have fixed meters now, which is now in most of the taxis. So I think we will have a solution to this also very soon.
That's all for today. Keep watching Goa Ahead.